A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity's Most Trusted Brand Survey 2015 with me, Sonali Krishna. Over the next 30 minutes, you will witness India's most trusted brands come alive and tell you their story. Innumerable brands compete year on year to be part of this exclusive club, and only 100 brands make it past the gate. An interesting mix, many radical twists, advances, and even drastic falls. Most Trusted Brands 2015 will sure take you by storm. The Brand Equity team brings you the toppers. We take a look at just how they conquered the rest to reach the peak. Here's a look at India's 3 most trusted brands. Take it away.
Coming in third for the second time in a row is Reckitt Benckiser's Dettol. This is one product that has enjoyed consumers' trust for decades now. Dettol is still one of Reckitt's key growth drivers, and the company has managed to leverage the brand by getting it into several brand extensions.
We really believe that we have a role to play with Indian consumers, which is to improve their health and hygiene. We will do that in as many ways as we can in terms of developing new products, improving the products that we have, making sure that the message is very clear, playing a larger role in society. If there is a big national cause, like I said, Swachh Bharat, if we believe that that links very closely with our expertise and also the brand purpose, we want to play a lead role. And I think really, Dettol has been rewarded, I would say, by consumers in terms of trust, only because we have a real meaningful role to play in their everyday lives.
The DNA of the brand and the intent of the company put together, and the social need today warrants us to do something what we did. Not only functional advertising, but socially significant advertising, emotionally relevant advertising. That's what the communication has been, and I'm very happy that the results are positive.
Its association with antiseptics and its work with the Swachh Bharat campaign to improve hygiene and health in India makes it a brand for all seasons.
New Dettol Squeezy.
నేను ఒక షెఫ్ని. కుక్కరీ షో కానివ్వండి, రెస్టారెంట్ కానివ్వండి.
Coming in second with a giant leap up on the list is none other than Tata Salt.
आयोडीन की सही मात्रा और अटूट विश्वास.
The Salt brand came in 16th last year and has made a dramatic jump of 14 places to nab the second spot.
I think for us, last year has been another step in terms of taking this high quality Tata Salt product to more and more consumers. Firstly, we have significantly enhanced the visibility of the brand on ground, and that is, there are 2 aspects to that. One is the fact that Tata Salt and many salt brands are at the back of the shop in the store and not really visible to consumers. So getting the Tata Salt brand up on the shelves in front of the shop has been I would say, a significant initiative which has been led by the sales team. At the same time, we have followed a structured visibility drive across population towns of 10 lakh plus, where through display windows and merchandising norms and all the nuts and bolts associated with the visibility program have been put in place.
As salt is used multiple times a day in every household, the product is constantly being put to the test, and looking at these results, it's definitely living up to its expectations.
There are very few brands that can kind of honestly claim to be Desh Ka as Tata Salt can, right? So when you have Tata in the name, you already have a head start in terms of trust with the consumers, right? And what happened last year is, the story built around Mary Com. People made a connect with what Tata Salt was trying to say, and I think that has stayed with the consumer, and we are seeing that in the results now.
Additionally, Tata Salt's efforts in activation programs and repackaging could also be reasons for an increase in their trust quotient.
When Cutie Katie makes a scene, she wears a smile brush 3 ways clean.
Cleaner breath, cleaner taste, cleaner teeth, 3 ways clean is Colgate Clean.
Last, but most certainly not the least, for the 5th time in a row, Colgate has claimed its spot at the top of the list as India's most trusted brand. This is one brand that has been trusted for generations. In fact, over the years, Colgate has become synonymous with toothpaste. The brand has enjoyed a good relationship with Indian consumers for over 7 decades now.
It is important that the brand delivers to the promises that it makes. So at Colgate, we take it very, very seriously. At Redfuse, we take that very, very seriously, that the promises that we make to the consumer, be it through the communication, be it through the product, are something that we do deliver on. And I think this consistency in delivering these promises that are made to the consumer year after year, product after product, variant after variant, is very, very important. And it's a trust that's really built over number of years.
That's my step. What's yours? That's sync.
Many congratulations to Dettol, Tata Salt, and a double thumbs up to the defending champion Colgate for topping the list once again. It's now time to meet Colgate Palmolive's managing director to chat about how the brand beat out hundreds of others to become the most trusted brand once again in 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, here's an exclusive chat with none other than Issam Bachaalani. Thank you so much for joining us, Issam. Truly a pleasure having you on Brand Equity and truly a pleasure having you on ET Now.
Thank you, Sonali, and welcome to Colgate. We are very happy to have you here today.
So let me start with first congratulating you on being once again the #1 most trusted brand on the Brand Equity Survey. 5 years in a row, no mean feat.
We are extremely humbled with being voted the #1 most trusted brand in India 5 years in a row.
Give me the highlights for the last 1 year. You know, all your new initiatives and you know, the key highlights that you'd like to bring to the fore in terms of what Colgate Palmolive as a company did.
So from an innovation perspective, be it from a global brands or be it from an Indian innovation, we have been in the forefront of innovation.
Okay.
We have brought into the market, basically, if it was India for India, if you look at the Colgate Active Salt franchise, the last one was Colgate Active Salt with Neem, with our brand ambassador, Priyanka Chopra. We have created the whitening segment. We continue to innovate behind the whitening segment. And in 2014, it has been voted the #1 the product of the year. From an innovation on toothbrushes, we have relaunched the entire Colgate 360 line. We brought in Colgate Slim Soft Charcoal. Also, charcoal have voted the product of the year for 2015. We continue to innovate from a global menu as well as from a local menu at the same time.
Issam, you know, talking specifically about Colgate, it's been a brand that has a legacy for many, many years, in fact, decades. But if you look at 90% of the brands world over, they constantly try and, you know, do a makeover of sorts in terms of the way they look, feel, and even communicate, right? For Colgate, of course, they have maintained their look, feel, and are pretty formulaic in the way they communicate. So you know it is a Colgate ad. Why is it that you stick to the tried and tested?
Okay, so I would disagree with this, but let's try to break the myth this time.
Sure.
All our advertising campaigns and integrated marketing campaigns are insight driven. Once the insight is there, that's what we work on. And we deploy different creative routes for different offerings. So let me start. For example, you have Colgate Strong Teeth, where you have, as I mentioned, real mothers, testimonials talking about the trust they have in Colgate to protect their children. On the other hand, you have our youth brand, like Colgate Max Fresh. Freshness platform, we have a youth icon such as Allu Arjun doing his moves and dance. It's really completely different. So we are deploying different creative routes for different offerings. We don't only communicate in our advertising, but we also do it through our packs.
Most recently, we have introduced into the market Colgate Strong Teeth Collectibles. It gives the opportunity to children to work on setting up their own magical kingdom, cutting the pack and getting all the picturesque inside. So when you look at the most important thing for me is that when you look back and look at all our advertising campaign and being voted the most trusted brand for 5 years in a row, that tells you that our communication is touching the hearts and minds of our consumers. Now, as you mentioned, tried and tested, yes, but consistent and creative.
Talking about inflation, how does inflation impact the oral segment? How has that impacted you as a company, and have you seen any kind of downtrading because of inflation?
So, inflation is a reality, and it affects us and affects everyone else.
Sure.
We have been working on tackling it in the past and continue in the future. If you look at in the context of the global economy, right, you've seen some economic downturns.
Sure.
But we have also seen that some of the categories have registered earlier volume declines than toothpaste. As a matter of fact, when you go back over the past, I would say 5 to 6 months, we have seen the tide changing. So the category is coming back with a growth in the interval of around probably 3 to 4%. So I'll leave it as a positive note that the volume, the category volume is coming back, and we definitely don't see downtrading.
You're saying the category volume is coming back after seeing a dip, which is what analysts also claim, that the category per se had seen a dip.
It's coming back. It's lesser of a dip than the others. It took a longer tail.
Why is that? Why did that happen?
I don't think, I mean, within the basket of product, the basket of things that you have to buy, sometimes consumers stretch their usage a little bit longer. But once consumers are loyal to your brand, they don't downtrade.
I've always been, a bit confused about how, in the toothpaste segment, how does one increase usage? Is that something that also plays on your mind?
Of course. We look at growth in India in two areas.
Sure.
Number one is increasing penetration, and second is increasing consumption. If I take the first one, increasing penetration, today 250 to 300 million people in India do not use toothpaste. So we're still working on building that penetration to bring in those non-users to become users. We also leverage different gatherings such as Puri Rath Yatra, Kumbh Mela, to spread the oral health awareness. Second, when it gets to consumption, yes, consumers brush, the majority of consumers in India brush once a day. So we're still working on areas to improve the communication on the benefits of oral health, the benefit of brushing twice a day.
I mean, almost all companies were betting very hard on rural. There was a big rural thrust. And when you go back and you look at those cases, and in fact companies today and analysts also claim that the rural bet has not paid off as much as, let's say, the urban bet. So the urban growth is actually doing quite well vis-a-vis rural, and that was really not envisaged. Would you be in agreement?
When you talk about penetration, the penetration with the 250 to 300 million people, this is in rural India, not in urban India. So we continue to focus there. So whether or not the growth in rural India has paid or didn't pay, or in urban is paying much more, at the end of the day, we service all India, rural and urban.
Over the years, Colgate has gained market share, on account of regional players. So you have really been cornering share there. But given the sudden rise you see in strong players emerging now suddenly from different regions, how do you see that going forward in terms of you further garnering share?
Sure. So we have been the oral care market leader in toothpaste and in toothbrushes.
Yeah.
Toothpaste is around 57% market shares, toothbrushes around 43% market shares. And we continue to look at spotting trends, looking at the new news, whether be it on a national basis or be it on a regional basis. Again, as I mentioned, we're always looking at new news in the market and spotting these trends. So when we have a new innovation coming along within our, as we mentioned before, if it's tried and tested somewhere around the world or tried and tested internally, then we'll bring it to the market. So we have been growing market shares nationally as well on a regional basis.
I'm only asking this question because there seems to be an anti-MNC movement spiraled by Baba Ramdev himself with the launch of Patanjali. In fact, when I interviewed him last week, he told me on camera that, you know, beware Colgate, beware levers, beware Nestle. I'm going to ensure that you're all doomed. And, you know, he says that especially for levers and Colgate, he said, you know, his particular brand, Patanjali Dant Kanti, as he calls it, is already doing quite well. And I believe that it is giving a lot of MNCs sleepless nights, including you, as several others.
I can't comment on that, but I tell you, our plans are there for this year, for next year, and we continue to compete in the Indian market. And we have our innovation, our strategy to see us for the future.
Coming to personal care, you have such a wonderful international basket. Why is it that, you know, Colgate Palmolive is just not aggressive with its personal care portfolio?
So recently this year, we have relaunched our Palmolive liquid hand soap, a completely new range of liquids and completely new range of foam, which we didn't have in the past. And we continue to upgrade and improve our Palmolive body shower. So from this end, we are innovating behind our current line. If it's inside driven and there's a reason for it to be in the market, then yes. And if not, then we'll hold back.
On that note, you know, thank you so much for giving me time. And once again, let me congratulate you on being India's most trusted brand.
Thank you, Sonali, and welcome to Colgate again.
Now, one of the biggest shockers this year was Nestle's Maggie noodles. It goes without saying that the brand has witnessed its most trying times in 2015. The severe allegations against the noodle brand caused it to suffer a loss of over $200 million. But clearly troubles don't end there for Maggie. The entire controversy has resulted in Maggie's consumers looking at it with suspicious eyes. So much so that for a brand that enjoyed the top slots on Brand Equity's Trust Index this year in 2015, it's come crashing down by a whopping 90 points on the trust meter. Here's an in-depth report. This is one brand that has been shining on the Trust Index for some time now. Part of the elitist top 10 club on the Most Trusted Brand survey, Maggie, until this year, was witnessing a meteoric rise on the Trust Index. 2015 has undoubtedly been a disastrous year for Maggie, thanks to the MSG and lead controversy. And a drop in the Trust Index was most definitely a given.
It's a banned item.
Maggie's are all-time meal. This is completely wrong.
बच्चों की health का सवाल है.
However, that the beloved noodle brand withstood tall at number 5 last year would drop a staggering 90 points was definitely not envisaged. In the Most Trusted Brand Survey 2015, Maggie, from being one of the top 5 brands, is now part of the bottom 5, coming in at number 95.
Yeah, it's a precipitous fall, and I mean, obviously one expected that they would fall, but this certainly is a much bigger hit they have taken than what one would have thought. So my first reaction is of surprise. I think this is a steeper decline than what one would have imagined.
I would never have imagined that a brand would drop quite so precipitously. I would have thought that people would have kept some loyalty to the brand as it went through this difficult period.
This precipitous fall in its trust quotient is no laughing matter. Clearly, the allegations against Maggie, coupled with the fact that Nestle's PR left a lot to be desired, had a rippling effect as anticipated. But the steep drop in trust was most definitely not, given that Nestle has a decade-old legacy and has a loyal following. The 90-point drop just tells us that the damage to the brand is much larger than one would have thought. Does that mean that in today's day and age, loyalty has become a lot more fickle and that consumers are a lot more unforgiving than they were in the past?
The fall is very steep, but I'm not very surprised because we've seen this twice before in other brands' cases, and when I was in Coca-Cola also we had the pesticide controversy. And what happens with food is, like, mothers are giving noodles to their children and there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of belief. And if it gets broken, I think there will be an absolutely equal reaction on the other side. So it goes to the extreme. You totally trust and then you totally drop it.
The fact that there is a specific sort of an event that has taken place that has eroded the credibility, but it's also sitting on top of a larger movement away from foods that are perceived not to be healthy. to foods that are healthy. So I mean, when you put the two together, once consumers have moved away, some of them will be inclined not to come back in any case. And some of them will not come back because of the trust issues raised by the government action.
कब वापस आएगा यार? Miss you.
The fact that Maggie is now in the clear and that the controversy is done and dusted with, will this ensure that Maggie will go from being a banned to a beloved brand once again?
आज सुना, हर टेस्ट में यही निकला है। सब ठीक है हमारी मैगी में। मैगी ही नहीं, ऐसे लग रहा है मैं भी पास हो गई।
Is it enough that the courts have given Maggie a clean chit? Will suspicious eyes that were cast on the prodigal noodle brand just go away? Or is the cut deeper than we think?
I would say that Maggie personally should be totally transparent with the consumer. And as I said, a double kind of communication. One communication which is to the masses, positive, that this is the same good Maggie that you've always loved, and then another one which explains to the more sort of the reader who wants to have the time to think over, etc., as well as to the trade, a communication that tells people exactly what happened and that it was not their fault.
I don't think Maggie needs to do too much, but I think Maggie needs to do a fair bit at the ground level, at the grassroots level, at the BTL level, in terms of the activation formats that it will employ, in terms of the communication format at the grassroots level it will employ, its B2B effort with retailers as to how it's going to talk to them, its B2C efforts with its primary constituency of young mother, child, college students, and bachelors. I think that communication is going to be important.
The good news, however, for Maggie is that it's back in action and on the shelves. So much so that in its first 10 days of making a comeback, it managed to sell a whopping 3.3 crore packets. This is no mean feat, but unfortunately it is just one small baby step towards gaining its lost shining glory. So can we expect Maggie to climb the ladder and make it to the coveted top 10 on the Trust Index in 2016?
Will take years to get back into the top 10. It will be, I don't think they should expect an immediate bounce back at all.
I think it will recover significantly, but it won't get back to its old position.
Let's take a look at what the street view of Maggie is. So what do you really think happened with Maggie?
I think they were at fault, so they had to banish all the products they had made. So they came up again with fixing all the errors they made.
There was the excess MSG and the lead that was a big problem for Maggie, and now they seem to have sorted everything out. So I'm very happy that Maggie is back.
So Maggie was under controversy, and I would assume they have sorted out the issue, and I hope they this time do not play around with the sentiments of consumers.
Maggie had a problem in terms of the excess lead and MSG issues, etc. So we don't know right now whether it's solved or not. If it's solved, good for us.
As to whether the problem with regard to its safety, with regard to its content is concerned, I don't know.
And there you have it. Consumers are still under the impression that Maggie was guilty, which is exactly the opposite of what transpired. From here on, Maggie's battle is twofold. A, making their way back to their dominant position, and B, making sure that consumers are aware of what really happened. And this might just take a lot more than good old regular advertising.
And with that, we bring the curtains down on this special episode of Brand Equity's Most Trusted Brand Survey 2015. We hope you enjoyed the show. To take the time and drop us a line at brandequity@etnow.tv, or alternatively log on to our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/brandequity, to tell us what you thought of our special showing. You could do the same on Twitter @brandequitylive. And on that note, I leave you with the grand countdown of India's top 10 most trusted brands 2015. Thanks for watching.